Sup? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. This is, if I calculated correctly, should be our 201st RPG horror story video. That's actually a lot. We're coming up to like almost a 1-year anniversary. I think it's gonna be happening in next month. Is it next month? I don't remember. I'm gonna have to double check. But either way, well, before I have that freak out, I'm gonna go ahead and jump myself into some RPG horror stories for today. This week we got a lot of good ones. I joined a D&D Isekai campaign and 2 players bought slaves in a first session. They probably got inspired by what, Shield Hero? Yeah, Shield Hero had that. Or there's another one, something about a healer of a hero or something. I'm not fully sure. I don't know. I never seen it. I just seen some clips and it's raunchy. Anyway, it happened last week and I had to leave the campaign at the end of the first session. We were summoned in a kingdom based in the Ottoman Empire. We're 3 humans, a goblin, which was based on a new anime, and a slime, also based on an anime character. After talking, we realized that we all reincarnated and we were humans in the past. The Emperor gave us money and the freedom to do anything as long as we killed monsters. But 2 of the players went to the market to buy slaves, and one of them brought 3. One of them was a fairy, but he killed her and ate her because he had a homebrew feature to do that and gain abilities. Right. Okay, sounds good. Right. Okay, so I guess the first question is, did your DM set up specifically so that slaves can be bought? Because, I mean, yeah, you can have a problem with players about that sort of thing, but I guess at the end of the day, it's all about what the DM allows at the table. If the DM specifically calculated for y'all to buy slaves and stuff, then I suppose you should probably start talking with the DM about like if that was intentional and if that was like on purpose, or was this one of those things where the players really begged for it and pestered the DM, and the DM finally like just kind of conceded to them and said, fine, you can have slaves, I guess. You know, whenever somebody goes into an isekai, the first thing they're gonna do is try to do something tropey or something samey that other isekai characters from popular anime have done. I'm assuming somebody who thought, well, Shield Hero got a slave and turned it to a waifu and stuff, I could do that for my character too and everything. Without really considering the fact that maybe you should start with baby steps and kind of figure out the world and all that, or maybe they just really wanted to have some sort of entourage, a forced entourage, if you will. These are just guesses from a tiefling on the internet. The DM gave homebrew abilities to everyone. He was eating things and gaining power. He was supposedly balanced by not being able to have more than one of those abilities active at the same time. But I didn't expect him to buy 3 slaves and eat one. Supposedly, it was metagaming to suspect that he did something to one of them, since his homebrew background made people not suspicious and assume he's just a dumb goblin. But he's a goblin who ate a scorpion in front of us immediately after leaving the castle for no reason. It told us he was a human in the past. His other 2 slaves asked what happened to the 3rd one, and his excuse was, I don't know, she got lost. I wasn't going to know that he ate the fairy, but I was still going to suspect that he did something to her, and my neutral good character wouldn't want to travel with 2 guys who bought slaves on the first day in another world. So he left the group together with another player's character, and I also left the campaign. So I'm assuming y'all never had a session 0 to figure out all this stuff, and now we have a point where literally the party is splitting. The one thing DMs shouldn't do is split the party, and players shouldn't do, obviously. But at this point, there's such a schism between different types of characters and what their goals and motivations are, that these guys just simply do not mesh at all. That's something that should have been discussed at session 0 to make sure that everybody's on board with what's going on and isn't just going to separate immediately on the first session. But I'm assuming they never had a session 0, they never talked about characters being made and what kind of characters to really work on or characters to make, and now they just have this schism where they just want to separate because they clearly don't mesh well. This is a disaster from the very beginning. Regarding the other player who also bought a slave, he bought an elf girl to help him in combat using magic, and supposedly he was not going to do anything to her. It was to rescue her, but I told him that he was still contributing to the slave economy before I left. The other 2 slaves that the goblin bought were kitsunes that looked like little girls, and his intention was to eat them, but he decided not to after seeing that they could transform into humanoid form. The DM said that it looked like that because the only 2 types of kitsune image he found were that of semi-naked women with big breasts and little girls. Jesus Christ, DM, there's no excuse for that. As somebody who appreciates fox girl women as well as cat girl women, or really any anime women out there, there's a lot of images of them not being half naked or naked and actually looking rather presentable. It's just a Google search away, a search on Twitter, even search on one of those like Japanese sites that usually have hentai like Damboru. Don't look it up, by the way, unless you really want to see that kind of thing. But still, this is some lame ass excuse to allow something like that. Jesus Christ. Game was a disaster from the very beginning. And I think all we can really contribute it to, I mean, obviously the problem players, but the DM, I think, is the one to blame for this whole thing becoming what it is. And that they were hundreds of years old and that our characters knew it because of their multiple tales. That was also an extra reason for my character to leave. This guy took 100-year lolly thing and just went with it as if it's like matter of fact. If this was a private game where people knew each other ahead of time, knew each other's vibes, knew each other for years, and that's the kind of isekai adventure they want to have, I don't care what you do at your private table as long as everybody is cool with what's going on. This sounds like a bunch of strangers that got together for the very first time and just realizing, oh my god, this campaign is a mess. What did I sign up for? Because I never had a session 0 and never talked about stuff. They never had a discussion prior to it. Never had a proper meet and greet before just jumping into this was just like, oh, 3 humans, a goblin, isekai, slaves. Yeah, this game is just a mess. By the way, I already posted the story previously in another community now related to D&D. I'm not sure if it's against the rules since it was my own post, but if it is, you can tell me and I'll delete the previous post. I'm glad you shared it on here because, oh my god, this is a story for the telling for other DMs to learn what to do. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have an isekai story. And at the same time, there's nothing wrong with necessarily wanting to have a slave market or having slaves as part of your game's theme. Listen, if this is a private table and people are cool with what's going on at the private table, do whatever you want, run whatever story you want, because it's not for anybody else to experience or go through. It's for y'all to privately experience on your own, and y'all into whatever you want to be into. If I want to have a couple of friends get together and run the campaign of Succulendia with all the NPCs are hot succubus ladies, and my friends are cool with it and actually want to play as hot succubus ladies, then who is going to be complaining about it? Nobody. We could do whatever we want at our table because everybody's just in on the joke, in on the fun, in on the content that's going on. But like, not with strangers. This is clear just a bunch of strangers got together, wanted to play an isekai campaign, realized it's not what they thought it was going to be because the DM never talked about it, realized that they have a lot of problem players already jumping and just gung-ho to get slaves in the campaign, and they say, yeah, I don't think my character would mesh really well with this, and basically just dipped. This could have been easily solved at session 0, where they would talk about their characters and what kind of themes they would have, what's allowed, what's not allowed, do's and don'ts, and checks and balances for that sort of thing, but they never had that, I'm assuming. Anyway, it's a lesson to learn. If you want to run isekai stuff, make sure to meet up with your players at the table and just actually talk about the themes of the game and like what you can do, what you can't do, what do's and don'ts. Session 0s are very important. This story proves that much. Let's get to the next story for today. The thing that inspired my character got me kicked out of the game. Some time ago, a game master that I played with on several occasions said that he wanted to give Pathfinder 1st edition one last hurrah for a campaign. So he said he wanted to have a campaign based around an idea of something he wanted to do for quite some time. The idea was that we pick 3 classes. The first class would be our main class, and we would start at level 3, but we can only level up to level 15. Our secondary class would start at level 2, but we can only level up to 10. And finally, our third class would start at level 1, and we could only be able to level up to level 5. This I saw as an interesting take on the system, and I decided that I was going to take advantage of this to play a character concept I've always had but never really had the opportunity because of the complexity in which I wanted to play it. I'm a fan of professional wrestling, and having grown up around it and worked for a promotion in my early days of college, I got the idea for a character that was a type of professional wrestler mixing with a little bit of what actually happens backstage and my own neurological issues. I'm a borderline schizophrenic for context. So I went with a brawler, mesmerist, enigma archetype, and a rogue. One of my character things was that he was known as the Lantern Man, Brandon Jack, as he would always walk around with a lantern, and his main weapon was a club wrapped in barbed wire. He would go from town to town making his money in prize fights and preaching the word of his goddess. The thing is, his goddess didn't actually exist. He didn't actually possess divine magic. He managed to gather disciples because he was able to get into people's heads, and he thought this entire time the lantern was magical and it was a gift from the goddess, and believed the violence was a religious experience. I told the game master my character concept and he approved, and he loved the idea because in his own custom setting he had a city that held a lot of prize fights, while players tended to not go to that area, so he's quite excited to have this sort of character in his game. The other 4 players in the game master really enjoyed my character. I will preach in a promo type fashion and use violence as a way of showing the power of my god grant me. After about 12 sessions, we're about halfway there to level cap. Instead of playing in a store we usually played, one of my players suggested we go to his house, since the game store we would normally go to was packed of some Magic the Gathering release. Completely unrelated to the story, but has anybody heard about the Magic the Gathering and like a guy having cards that weren't supposed to be released or something and they send freaking Pinkertons after him? That is the only thing I'm gonna remember about Magic the Gathering from now on. I don't know, man. Controversies kind of lock something inside your head forever, and now Magic the Gathering is forever gonna be the one thing with Watsy said Pinkertons after a guy. But either way, that's the only memory I have now of Magic the Gathering. Anytime that word comes up, I'm thinking, oh, that's the one time they send the Pinkertons against the guy. If you don't know about it, look it up. It's freaking wild. Anyway, let's continue. We head to this player's house and we play for several hours. It's raining pretty heavily, so the player told us that we can leave when the rain stops a little bit after midnight. The host graciously put several frozen pizzas in the oven so we can eat. However, the host said that since we were done playing, he wanted to know if it was okay if we broke away and did our own things, and it was okay with everyone else that he put on Backlash. 3 of us wanted to watch the show, while the other 3, who are now wrestling fans, decided to have a 3-way Warhammer game instead. Because we were asked to stay in the game room, they moved the table a little further away from us so that they could have their game, and they wanted to start Buzz and vice versa. Whatever that means, I don't know actually. So long as we kept the TV down low enough, they could hear themselves and we could also hear what was happening. During the show, a wrestler who went by the name Bray Wyatt walks out. And one of the parts of Bray Wyatt's gimmick is that he walks out with a lantern. He has a habit of speaking in a peculiar manner. One of the other people watching me cracks a joke about my character. For some reason, the game master stops playing Warhammer and comes over to the TV and looks at the entrance and then looks back at me. He looks at me like I just betrayed him, and he says something to me I can't really forget. Are you serious right now? That's what you base your character on? A wrestler? How can you do this to me? You know I hate wrestling, and you made a character inspired by a wrestler. Huh? Wow, that's a concerning reaction to say the least. I told him I didn't just base the character on one particular wrestler, I based it on 3 particular wrestlers. Secondly, he didn't have a problem with the character beforehand. He then went on a tirade about that if he knew what inspired the character, he wouldn't have allowed it because he doesn't like professional wrestling and thinks it's stupid. And doesn't really understand why people enjoy it and think that it's stupid that people enjoy it. That went on for good 10 minutes. During this, one of the other players came to my defense and said that even though he also doesn't like wrestling, yet he wasn't asked what inspired the character he created and doesn't see why it should matter. That was not a good defense in the eye of the game master, who went on a tirade and basically told me to leave the game. Over a character that is inspired by a wrestler? What? Come on, DM. You can't be that ridiculous over this. DM is having a meltdown because your character is inspired by a wrestler of all things. What's wrong with that? The character was approved. If the character was playing for such a long time, then what's the point? Like, why does it matter? If the character is enjoyable and you enjoy having the player at the table, why does it matter what's inspired by? Also, can I just say what a condescending thing is to say, I don't know why anybody likes it, and I don't like you for liking it, for wrestling of all things. Dude, people are gonna like things out there that maybe you might not be into. I used to like Marvel films, but like I'm not really into them anymore. I don't hate them for it, nor would I hate people for enjoying Marvel films. Like what you like, it's whatever. But like, it feels stupid to dislike somebody because they like something that you think is stupid. First of all, people are allowed to enjoy things, jackass. People are allowed to enjoy other things out there that you don't think is that entertaining or that cool or that unique. I used to play World of Warcraft. I no longer play World of Warcraft because I don't like Blizzard. I don't like the kind of things they've done over the years. I play Final Fantasy 14, Old Elder Scrolls Online, or anything other than a Blizzard product. I just don't touch Blizzard products whatsoever. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna start hating my friends for playing Overwatch or playing World of Warcraft or anything Blizzard related. Let them enjoy what they want to enjoy. They're fine to enjoy whatever they want to enjoy. If you out there play a Blizzard product, play it, have fun. It's no skin off my teeth. And it just feels so pedantic and stupid to dislike somebody for liking something that you don't like. A lot of people are gonna like something that you may not like. Doesn't mean you gotta have a freaking meltdown over it and to rant about it for 10 minutes because he based his character off of Wrestler. You didn't have a complaint about the character all the way up to them getting to level 12 and almost reaching level cap. That wasn't a problem whatsoever, but suddenly it's a problem now because you recognize them from a wrestling TV show. What surprised me the most is that they're over there playing the Warhammer game, right? Playing the Warhammer TTRPG while the rest of them are watching some sort of, I'm guessing some sort of a wrestling TV show or something. I'm not really sure what the show is about, but I'm assuming it's probably something related to wrestling. I don't know. And the DM is not having a meltdown over them watching wrestling, even though they clearly think it's stupid. Why have a meltdown over a player character? What's such a ridiculous argument to have. The game master left in rage. The mood of the night was kind of ruined for about 10 minutes until we came to the epiphany that the entire plot of us Final Fantasy X. Good game, by the way. After that, we had a laugh at ourselves because we should have realized it earlier on. We contacted him a week later to see if he was okay, and we were told he never wanted to play with us again. Wow, I've never seen somebody have a freaking meltdown over a character concept based on wrestling. It was no problem for a real long time, but out of nowhere it became a problem. The DM had two choices here, right? So fingers, come on, please work. There we go, two choices. One, to just let it go, just let it be, and enjoy the fact that playing a game with somebody they enjoy, and just, you know, enjoy the process of playing together, because so far it never became a problem. Or two, do what they did in the story, and they chose to, for whatever stupid reason. God forbid a character is based on something that you don't like. It's such a silly thing. For real, you know what? The DM gave you all a favor. You can find a way more tolerant, a way more sensible DM out there, so honestly, I think he did y'all a favor with this. What a weird outburst to have, but what can you do? Sometimes people just act really crazy. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.